Hey you guys, it's Tanea, and I want to share something super exciting with you guys as I make the most of my last year in my 20s. I am currently having a home built, and it's supposed to be finished right in time for my 30th birthday. So I thought it would be a great idea for me to share tips and principles that I had abided by that helped me get prepared for home ownership in my 20s. And I hope this serves to be encouraging and inspirational to other millennials or other people around my age who are also embarking on that journey or would like to embark on that journey pretty soon. Just kind of like a quick disclaimer before I get into it, I am in my favorite spot to film, which is outside. While I do have a mic, sometimes background noises such as planes, people running, birds is picked up, but I hope a lot of that is minimized in this video. I will be quickly glazing over the tips and tricks because I realized a lot of them could have videos that further gives context as to why many of these principles are important in your journey. So if you do have any questions, or if you would like for me to elaborate more on any of the tips that I share in this video, feel free to ask me in the comments below. And also, this is from the perspective of someone who is a home buyer. I am not a loan officer. I am not a realtor. So there's going to only be so much that I am able to answer from my perspective, but I can give you kind of a little bit of context. I am blessed to be someone who is a home buyer in this very volatile home market, especially in the Dallas market, where we have a lot of people migrating to Texas from higher cost of living areas. And so they come to Texas realizing you can get a lot more bang for your buck out here. And they are bidding well above and beyond a lot of the existing homes that are in the market. So as someone who has lived in Texas for some years now, I really had the odds stacked against me, like many other first-time home buyers in their 20s will as well. So we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into the tips and tricks. Number one, pay off your debt. I pretty much paid off my car loan, all of my credit cards. The only loan that I currently have open is my student loans. That's the only debt that I currently have. And the reason why I recommend paying off your debt is that many lenders are going to want to know that the debt relative to your income is low. Most home lenders require that your debt to income, also known as a DTI, is no more than 30%, meaning no more than 30% of the income that you are bringing in is going towards paying debt. You also going to want to make sure that you are paying all of your debt on time as well, because it's going to show that, hey, you are responsible with the money that is lended to you. And a lot of people overlook this metric, but it's one of the most important metrics in jumping into home ownership, because it's gonna really highlight how much home you are able to afford. So if you want to maximize how much home you're going to afford, you're going to really want to make sure that your DTI is super low. Some of you may wonder, why did I decide to go into home ownership when I still have student loans? I did debate on whether or not I wanted to pay all of that off before starting my home ownership journey, but to my surprise, my DTI was so low, with me having to have no debt outside of my student loans, that whether or not I paid it off before jumping into home ownership wouldn't have made much of an impact on how much home I would be able to afford. So moving on to tip number two, save at least 3.5% towards a home down payment. There's this huge misconception that you need to have at least 20% saved down. It's not true. Many first-time home buyer programs only require a minimum of 3.5%. I think there are also some loans that have lowered that threshold to 3%. One thing that a lot of people do not talk about, though, it's not just your down payment you're going to have to make sure that you have. You're going to need to make sure that you have money that is able to cover the closing cost that is going to make your home purchase official. What are closing costs? Closing costs are everything that is all the fees that go into making sure that you are an official home buyer. So it's going to be the appraisal fees, the inspection fees, the loan originating fees, the real estate fees. I think the city even gets a portion of it. There's a lot of fees that go into that. So you're going to need your down payment and your closing costs. Highly recommend that you compare against as many lenders out there to see who can give you the best incentives and perks. The home lender that I ended up going with, there were so many perks in going with the in-house home builder that I decided to go with them. One being that they covered my down payment, so I don't have to pay a down payment. It's 0%, and they are also covering half of my closing costs. So the only amount that I have to bring to closing is only $3,000. With other lenders, with the 3.5% down payment that I would have been required plus closing costs, I would have had to bring anywhere from $17,000 to $20,000 to closing. So I've saved thousands, not only in the front end, but the interest rate that I would pay on that loan as well was very competitive. So it was a no-brainer for me. Number 3, budget. If you're not budgeting, you should be budgeting, because it's very important that you have a good understanding on how much it costs to live your lifestyle, where a lot of your money is going. What was highlighted to me when I started analyzing my budget again is that there was one month this year where I spent $600 in 1 month towards eating out, which was so ridiculous to me and heart-wrenching to me as well, because I'm like, dang, that money could have went towards something else. There were so many things that I would have much rather spent $600 towards than dining out. So when you start budgeting and you start looking at your budget, it's going to highlight a lot of opportunities in which you are able to scale back. Number 4, use cash only. My main advice for this is because you are less likely to part away with cash, because you see it, as you spend it, you see it going down. Versus when you use digital methods or plastic, you're not seeing your cash flow go down in your budget as you swipe. So it's really easy to go swipe happy, go over budget a lot. What I do is I use these little plastic color-coded binder pockets, and I have a monthly beauty maintenance budget and a monthly dining budget that I put the cash for it in. Once my cash in a particular folder is gone, that's it for that particular budget. I know that if I spend anything more than the cash that is currently set aside for these budgets, then I am going over budget, and I always try to stay within my budget each and every month, just because it's a really good habit to have. 5 is obvious. Establish good credit. Many first-time home programs only require a minimum of 580 to get into a home, but you're going to want to aim higher, 680 and more, because you get a lot more incentives and savings in the short term and long term when you are in that higher credit score bracket. To me personally, I don't think it's going to be worth getting into a home at that 580 credit score, because one, that home lender is going to require you to bring forth a down payment that is higher than that 3.5%, because you are considered more of a risk. And secondly, there's going to be all these extra fees tacked onto your mortgage, tacked onto that loan, because you are considered a high risk buyer at a lower credit score. So definitely take the time to do what you need to do to get to where you need to be to make the most of you being a home buyer. Number 6 is going to be become familiar with what you can reasonably afford. This is what budgeting is going to highlight for you. Budgeting is going to let you know how much your normal lifestyle costs on average. So a home lender is going to say, based on your income, based off your credit score, based off your DTI, you're going to be able to afford this amount of mortgage. But what they're not going to see is what you are spending commonly for your lifestyle. So if you know that your lifestyle costs a certain amount and that your estimated mortgage is going to make you have to scale back on your current lifestyle, then you're not going to want to tap out at what home lenders are saying that you're able to afford. You're going to probably want to look into a home that is below that threshold, that allows you to maintain the current lifestyle that you currently have. The goal is to build wealth. The goal is to be a comfortable home buyer and not house poor. Number 7, keep your credit utilization low, no more than 10%. If you don't know what that is, credit utilization is with the combined amount of credit that you have out there, your credit limit, you are reporting no more than 10% to the bureaus each and every month. So if you have 3 credit cards and across all 3 credit cards, your credit limit is a combined $12,000. You don't want to report more to the credit bureaus, $1,200 combined each and every month, because that's going to keep you at that 10% or less. If you're like me, who likes to straddle that fence of being debt free, I report a minimum of like $10, $20 each and every month just to keep my FICO credit score high. And your FICO is going to be extremely important. Many of you may be looking at your like credit card, Credit Karma, credit stuff. That stuff is not going to matter. It's your FICO that's going to be matter. So for me, when I paid off my credit cards, I was reporting $0 each month, and that actually ended up causing my FICO to drop 20 points because they would much rather you use your credit with a low utilization than to not use your credit at all. All the other credit brackets that are tracked by Credit Karma were not impacted, but my FICO was. So that following month, I let $10 report just for the hell of it, and my FICO went back up 20-30 points. So just letting you know on that. Number 8, take a finance course. I took Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University 2 years ago, and in that 6 to 8 weeks that I took that course, I paid off all of my credit cards. I saved my first $1,000 in my savings. I paid off my car loan, and my other class peers made similar leaps, if not larger leaps, than I did during that program. So a reputable financial course will definitely help propel you to where you want to be in terms of your wealth building journey, your financial stability journey, and your home buyer journey, and all of that. I will say as a disclaimer, there are some tools and principles learned in Dave Ramsey that are controversial, that are highly debatable. One being that once you pay off your credit cards, Dave Ramsey believes that you should close your credit card accounts and live off of cash only, because credit is just an I love debt score, and you can get into a home without credit. That stuff, sure, is easy to say when you're a millionaire, but for most of us, like finding a good home lender and an underwriter to be willing to vouch for us for a home loan when we don't have credit showing that we are responsible with our money is going to be very, very difficult. And so you're going to want to make your home buying journey as easy as possible. So keep those cards open to show that you are responsible with your money. Even if you don't want to use it, just have like $10 or $20 report or something, just so it can establish that, you know, you're responsible, and let that be. So yeah, a reputable financial course, highly recommend. Number 9, be okay with falling back if you need to fall back to reach your goals. If you may not be able to dine out as much, you may not be able to hang out as much with your friends, you may not be able to travel as much, shop as much, but if you got to scale back to reach your bigger and greater goals, despite the fact that the gratification is going to be a slow one, it's going to be completely worth it. Your friends and family that really love and support you are going to understand. And if you are hanging around with people or participating in behaviors that do not align with your greater goals, then that's something that you're going to have to really consider whether or not is worth having in your life. Number 10, gratitude. Have gratitude for where you are right now in your current journey, regardless of where that may be. I feel like when you are grateful for what you have, that just opens the door for a lot more abundance and blessings your way. And then I have a bonus one, number 11, something that I hugely attest to how my home ownership journey ended up being a very smooth and amazing one, despite all the odds that were stacked against me. And I will share my testimony in a different video, but manifest it, claim it, speak it, feel it, believe it's already yours, and it will be yours. Like I said, I'm not going to go into it in this video because it's going to be a long story, but if I sat here and told you, once you hear like my story, you're gonna be like, dang, like God, the universe definitely moved mountains for you to make you being a home buyer possible and to happen in this very volatile market that is really, really tough for first-time home buyers. So if you're curious about that video, my next home video will be about that. But I hope this was super encouraging and helpful for those who are embarking on their journey and they don't know where to start, or they don't know what is going to really be important for them to look into and factor in their journey. If you have any questions, of course, ask me in the comments below. But until we chat again next time, bye.